Good morning, students. I hope you all are well, healthy, and fit, and enjoying your holidays. In the last lecture, we talked about the process of freezing and melting. In this lecture, we will talk about the process of boiling, process of evaporation, and process of condensation. So now let's start with the process of boiling. As we know that when a liquid gets heat, then the liquid change into a gas. So this process is known as boiling. Means when a liquid reaches a certain temperature, it forms a gas. Inside it, the gas makes bubbles which rises to the surface and bursts into the air. This process is called boiling. So what is boiling? When a liquid gets heat, then the liquid change into a gas. You can see that in this figure, when a water gets heat, then the water change into a water vapor. And you can see that the particles in the water are very close to each other, but in the particles in the water vapor are too far from each other. So this process is known as boiling. So the temperature at which the boiling takes place is known as boiling point. What is boiling point? A boiling point is the temperature at which boiling takes place is called the boiling point. Now discuss the particle theory to explain the process of boiling. The particle theory can be used to explain boiling in the following way. When a liquid is heated, all the particles receive more energy and move more quickly. As we know that when a liquid receives more energy, then all the particles of a liquid move more quickly, and the fastest moving particles escape from the liquid surface or collect in the liquid to form bubbles. When we heat a liquid for a longer period of time, then the fastest moving particle escape from the liquid surface or collect in the liquid to form bubbles. You can see that when we heat a water or any liquid, then a bubble it starts to come on its surface. These bubbles rise to the surface and burst open into the air. And when the heating continues, then the bubble rises to the surface and burst open into the air. The fast moving particles received or released from the liquid form a gas, and these fast moving particles released from the liquid form a gas. This is all about the process of boiling. So now let's talk about the process of evaporation. As we know that melting is a process when a solid turns into a liquid at one definite temperature. And boiling is a process at which substance changes its state from the liquid state to the gaseous state at some particular temperature. But in evaporation is the process whereby liquid changes into vapor without boiling, which means evaporation occur at all temperature. What is evaporation? Evaporation is the process whereby liquid changes into water without boiling. It means evaporation occur at all temperature. For example, a drop of water can turn into a gas at room temperature of about 20 degrees centigrade, while outside a puddle dries up in the warmth from the sun. If the temperature of the liquid is higher, it evaporates faster. So now let's try to understand the process of evaporation with the help of particle theory. The particle theory can use to explain evaporation in the following way. The particle with the most energy move the fastest. You can see that in this figure, the particles who have more energy, they move faster, and the particles who have less energy, they move less faster, and they are close to each other. High energy liquid particles near the surface move so fast that they can break through the surface and escape into the air, forming a gas. As in figure, those particles who receives more energy, they can break through the surface and escape into the air and forming a gas. So this is all about the process of evaporation. Now let's talk about the process of condensation. A condensation is the process by which water vapor in the air is changed into liquid water. Means if a gas cool down far enough, it turns into a liquid by a process of condensation. Let me give you an example. When you boil a water or milk and you put a plate on the surface of the water, then you can see that after some time the sum of the water bubbles coming on the plate. This is because the vapor from the hot milk or from hot water, when it comes in contact with the cool surface, then those vapor turns into a liquid. So basically condensation is the process by which vapor in the air is cooled down into liquid. So now you can see that in this figure, in a vapor the particles are very far from each other, but when the energy between the particles decrease, then these particles come closer to each other and the vapor turn into a liquid. So now talk about the particle theory which explain condensation in the following way. The particle theory explains condensation in the following way. The particle in a gas possesses a large amount of energy which they use to move. As we know that in the gas the particles are move very fast in all the direction, but when the particles are cooled, then they lose some of their energy and slow down. If a gas is cooled sufficiently, the particles lose so much of energy that they can no longer bounce off each other when they meet. So when these gas particles cool sufficiently, then the particle lose so much energy thus that they can no longer bounce off each other when they meet. And the particles now come closer to each other and they start slide over and form a liquid. The last point says when the particles now come closer to each other and they now slide over each other and form a liquid. As we know that when the particles come closer to each other, they start slide over, and when they slide over, then a gas forms a liquid. This is all about the condensation process. I hope you all are understand the processes that we discussed in today's class. So on the basis of today's class, I will give you a one worksheet and you have to complete that worksheet in your previous year science notebook or in a separate science notebook. Thank you.